So today with me, I have Jeff and Chad from Wisconsin Agility, and they'll be speaking at Scrum Day 2024. So thank you so much for joining me today. First, I want to get us started off with the question that everybody wants to know. So last year, you brought your guitars and you played it. We brought your guitar last year and you played it. It was fantastic. Are you going to be playing again for us this year?
Yes, the answer is yes, because we just talked about it a few minutes ago, and you're going to allow me to do it again. So yes, the answer is yes. And hopefully by October, I'll have some fresh Scrum songs. I actually was just working on recording one that I wrote yesterday. So that'll be coming out soon. So maybe that one will be a live version at Scrum Day.
You know, I got to tell you, I watch of course, I watch your videos at agilesongs.com, and I check out your YouTube channel, and I enjoy the songs. I love them on the video, but I don't know, I loved them more in person last year. I was surprising what a difference that made. It was just fun to have you. So I'm thrilled that you're going to be joining us this next year. Can you give us a sneak peek? Do you know, have you put some thought into what you might play?
So I guess got to let you in on how Chad rolls here. Like, he doesn't figure it out till like the day before, maybe the hour before, what he's actually going to sing.
Okay.
Because Chad has hundreds of songs written. Well, maybe not hundreds, like 75 to 100. So, like, you don't know what he's going to throw at you. It's probably going to be something that you haven't heard before, for sure.
I'm going to ask you just some general questions so we can get a little bit to know about your views and what you're thinking. And I want to ask you, where do you see Scrum going? What is the future of Scrum?
Jeff?
I'll go first, I guess. I mean, Scrum, in a nutshell, is just good business. I mean, you deliver value quicker, you reduce risk, you increase transparency, your ability to change is high. And in the way that things are going right now in 2024 and beyond, like, the world's not slowing down. And so if you can't respond and adapt quickly, I just don't think the odds are with you to be around very long. Like, eventually your luck's gonna run out. So I think that we're going to see more and more companies, and that's just the way they do business. That's the norm. That's just Agile, Scrum. It's just how they operate.
Yeah. So what Jeff just said, the agile, it's just good business. He actually said that on an episode of our podcast, The Agile Wire. And I'm the one who edits the podcast. So when you edit a podcast, you tend to listen to the exact same phrases like 5 times by the time you're done with the full edit. And there's this one section where, in the span of like 30 seconds or less, Jeff says the phrase. And on a third time, he says it very dramatically. So the first time he's like, I mean, it's just good business. And then the second time he's like, it's just good business. And then the third time he's like, it's just good business. And he's like all dramatic. And I was like, that's like a good talk title. And so the rest is history.
Business. And I was talking about this at a training I was given someone recently, and I can't believe that we used to do business any other way. It doesn't make sense to me that we used to do business any way. Of course, you should deliver value in smaller increments to see if they like it before you invest more. Of course, you should have a product owner that owns the product. How could you not? It doesn't make sense to me anymore. Once you really started to do business this way and used it this way, I don't know how we survive without it, honestly.
Yeah. It's like, it's kind of like when you hear the phrase, and I'm sure we've all heard the phrase, like, oh, Scrum doesn't really work for us. We're unique. We do something different. In my mind, I'm auto replacing and auto correcting and hearing like, we don't like making a lot of money for our organization. We like to be wasteful and do it our way. Like, that's sometimes what I hear, right? That sounds really judgmental, but it is just like, if you know how to squeeze the value out of Scrum, it makes sense. Like, why wouldn't you want to make more money and more profit for whatever your cause is? Not for profit and profit. Like, you need profit to survive.
Absolutely. And you know, when I hear agile resistance, I think what scares people about agile is it does expose your problems, right? So that you have to solve them. So do you have bad DevOps? It's going to be obvious, right? Are you not focusing on the customer? We're going to hear about it really soon. So it's a little scary in that sense. And it's a good thing too, right? You're going to solve those things that have been plaguing your team for years, and we're going to solve those. We're going to have to solve them.
In my thoughts, I think when people say, well, we're agile-ish, or we do Scrum-like, or we do Scrum-ish, the ish is the thing that separates them from actually delivering value. So when they say ish, what does that mean? We don't deliver increments frequently. Okay, so you're taking on more risk. We plan a quarter at a time, so you're not very adaptable and you can't change and pivot very quickly, right? Like all the things that they're not doing, those are the things that are separate them from delivering more and more value for their organizations. And in my mind, like this is kind of hard, like hard truth is like, you're gambling with your organization's money. Like you're literally gambling with their money, and you're not taking fiduciary responsibility to take care of it in the utmost way. And so like I just think it's irresponsible at this time.
Or you might just say agile. It's just good business.
Yeah, or agile is just good business, or take it the positive way, I guess, like whatever.
And I want to ask you a little bit about your experience with Scrum, right? It is just good business. And I want to ask you a little bit about what are some cool things that you've done with Scrum in the past, or you've worked with customers that have done cool things in the past?
I'll tell a story. So one of the coolest things I've ever done with Scrum was my brother was getting out of the army and he was getting his MBA and COVID had just hit and I don't know. He started posting these videos on TikTok. It was a brand new thing, this Tick thing. Like that's how he first introduced it to me. And so he started posting videos and they started kind of blowing up. But he's like getting his MBA and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna keep doing this. And he's like, is this a viable business? Like, can I make a business out of this? And so I got to work with him and a bunch of MBA graduates in their capstone class. And we tried saying, can you make a profit doing this? And we tried a bunch of different experiments. We were using Scrum at the time. And I kind of served as a Scrum master. He was the product owner. And then he had his other classmates that were kind of like the dev team members. And that went for a while. And then he's like, I think it's there, but we need to do some more experimenting on some things. And so we ended up getting this job at Microsoft as a product manager. And he did that for about 9 months. And then he found out like he hit some product market fit, found some things that really worked for him. And he quit Microsoft. And now him and his wife do that full time. They have a couple other people that work for him. And they're using Scrum to basically like, I don't know, do the thing they love. They get to create these videos, do all the stuff with their dogs, travel the world. It's amazing for them. So that's my best, I don't know, one of my favorite stories.
That's amazing. That's amazing, amazing. I got to tell you, I have not heard a TikTok and Scrum story before. So that's amazing on many levels. I got to ask, what's their TikTok?
Ellie Golden Life. So it's all golden retriever dog videos trying to spread smiles throughout the world.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. So Chad, I got to ask, I don't know, that's going to be a tough one to top, but do you want to share your cool Scrum story?
Sure. The first one that comes to mind was I had an opportunity, this was years ago now, to go speak at an internal conference that startup was putting on. And at the time, they were basically a joint venture between Anheuser-Busch and Keurig. And they were trying to basically make a single serving like alcohol drink like a Keurig cup, K-cup. And so it was a really cool, got to spend the whole day with them and see all their prototypes of the hardware side and see the software side. And so it was one of the coolest experiences of seeing Scrum used in hardware and software and the rapid prototyping and the journey that they'd taken from the first prototype hardware to the last version that they were working on. So now it never worked out. It recently, probably years ago now, they went public with the news that they were going to, not go forward with it. But it was a really cool opportunity again to just, deal with those tricky situations of like, okay, we have hardware and we have software. How do we make this work? Because there's so many examples of Scrum or software. And when you get into hardware, sometimes people throw their hands up like, oh, this isn't going to work. It does work. You just have to, tweak things slightly and think about, well, what is our increment? So anyway, and see, I'm going into trainer mode now, but yeah, that's the one that stands out to me the most.
That is fantastic. It's fascinating. And you're right. It would be a great experience to be part of something like that. And by the way, finding out sooner that this is not going to work is one of the benefits of Agile, yep. Right? I want to ask you now a little bit more about you. How did you find Scrum, or how did Scrum find you? It sounds like Scrum found you, Chad, actually.
I have two points in my history where it stand out. So my first big job at a Fortune 500 was actually at Mattel, the toy company. And that was my first introduction to Scrum in the early 2000s. So it's pretty fresh. Like, I think the team that I was actually working on was trained by Ken Schwaber, because there weren't that many trainers around that time, really. I don't, the Scrum Guide hadn't even come out yet. And we were just, it was weird. It was like, we're doing all these things and out of, at the time, an Excel spreadsheet. And we had a rotational Scrum Master. And so I got thrown in. And then I sort of forgot about that. And then almost a decade later, I guess maybe 5 to 10 years later, rediscovered Scrum when a local company hosted Ken Schwaber for a kind of book launch. And this was around the time that Scrum in 30 Days was coming out. And it was pre-release, I believe. And so I went to the meetup, and at the end, Ken was like, anybody who asks good questions, quote unquote, I'll give a free copy of the book to. And so I asked a question, and I don't remember what question I asked, but I got a copy of the book. I read it feverishly, I believe, like over the weekend. And then I went in to my this is a different company I was working at now at the time. And I went into my manager's office on Monday, and I slammed the book down on his desk dramatically. And I said, why aren't we doing this? Because everything that it talked about in the book felt like it would solve all of our problems we were trying to do with project management and these Death March projects at the time. So from that point forward, I kind of was on a fast track trajectory to just keep learning as much about Scrum as possible. So
love the drama of that.
Yeah,
by the way, I really like that book too. Actually, it's got a lot of great stories in terms of, why do we do things, right? Software in 30 days. Why do we have a definition of done? I don't know if you have the drama of that in your story, but
yeah, my story's a little different. I was working for a health system when we were trying to. It was actually the company that created the first electronic health record in the United States, and they were going to revamp this legacy system. And I was part of that group, and we started. They said, "Here's a book, read this. We're going to try this," and it didn't work so well initially. We had all kinds of problems that we didn't know we didn't know, right? We did some things right, we did a lot of things wrong. And I ended up leaving that company because I found this company, this consulting company that doesn't exist anymore. And they were had this new idea. They'd actually sell a team that was a cross-functional team that was highly productive, and they would sell them sprints and they would deliver increments. And they were opening a new office that was going to be doing this in Madison. And I was employee number 1 to be doing this. And so they built a team around us, and we started doing that. And I kind of got this great experience of starting off as a development team member, moving into Scrum Mastery, being a product owner, and got to build a lot of different products and touch a lot of different organizations and see so many different uses of Scrum. And so many places they'd be like, there's no way you can deliver something that of value in one sprint. And we do it over and over and over again. And so, when people tell me they can't do it, I'm like, I just don't think you've tried the right way yet. And so there's always a way. And so I don't know, that was probably the most impactful experience in my career, even, is just finding that consultancy and being on those teams.
It's so, I share the same thing. Like when I think back to, like, if I could go back in time and like tell my younger self on that first Scrum team I was ever on, like, this is what you need to do. Cause like we were doing everything wrong. I mean, not everything, but we were doing a lot. Just, we were missing the point. Right. So again, classic kind of mechanical Scrum, zombie Scrum. We were going through a lot of the motions with good intentions, but we just didn't know what we didn't know. So like, I don't know. That's why I think we get so much, I guess, joy out of what we do, is because we're helping people who, like, we're helping our past selves. Kind of like you said earlier, Mary, like you can do that now because there's plenty of people around the world going through exactly what our experience was with and not just Scrum, but all kinds of things. But obviously we sort of we do a lot of Scrum and Agile stuff.
Well, I do think it's going back to helping people. I do think that Agile makes the world a better place, and Scrum makes the world a better place, right? Because we're talking every sprint, how can we do things better, right? In my very first Scrum, I didn't do that, and I look back and go, God, what a wasted opportunity to talk about how can we do things better and to always improve. So I enjoy having these conversations, but I want to move us on, and I want to ask you a little bit about The theme of Scrum Day, again, I want to expand upon this idea. The theme of Scrum Day this year is deliver value sooner. And the reason we picked that again is digital AI, that State of Agile report. This is why people go Agile, because we want to deliver value sooner. It's all about delivering value sooner to our customer and focusing on our customer. And so I want to hear a little bit more about the topic of your speech this year. Tell me more.
Yeah, so it's just Agile is good business. And so inside of this, what we're going to do is we're going to break down the financials of being Agile versus not, and why it's just good business. So we're going to break it down to the numbers, and then we're going to give the formula, like what do you need to be responsive and adaptive to change to do what we say is Agile? What are the core components? There's really three main things that we're looking for operational agility. So we're going to give those three keys, and then give people some paths to get there. And then, we'll see how we can help them move them forward. It's going to be collaborative in nature. Especially get towards the end, we're going to take some feedback. We're going to try to solve some problems in the moment. And that's one of the things that I think Chad and I enjoy the most about public speaking is when we get those questions and we have to think on our feet and respond. We love that. I think some people maybe they get a little, what could be asked, and they get a little nervous about that. And for us, that's what makes us exciting. So we love it when we get an interactive audience, and we usually, hopefully we get that at Scrum Day. We did last year.
I hope so. I love going to your speeches for that reason. You are very adaptable and there's a high energy. I'm going to say your speeches are very entertaining, actually, for that reason, because we talk about you talk about what the audience wants to talk about. And I think that's fantastic. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me today. I'm really looking forward to seeing you at Scrum Day this year. Scrum Day is scheduled for October 23rd, 2024 in Madison, Wisconsin, and you can get tickets at www.scrumday.org. So thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at Scrum Day.